out of here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's so true. And so, I've been digging into this, like, where did these concepts come from?
Yeah.
Now, we know critical race came out of the Frankfurt School in Germany,
Yes, it did.
in the early part of the 20th century. And then we also know that, they have an agenda. Their agenda of the Frankfurt School is to destroy capitalism, destroy a Republican form of government, and to expand socialism, Marxism, and communism. That's not a conspiracy. That is fact. You can do the research and see that's their agenda. They're the ones that came up with this theory. There's a guy named Eddie Moore. He was key in creating this concept of white privilege. These things they're constructs that have been fabricated. I'm going to say fabricated because someone came up with that term and they decided. So this isn't based on studies, historical analysis, general trends. This is based on someone constructing this concept and then marketing it.
Yeah. As a communications maven, you understand what these words can mean and the mentality that it can create, the behavior that it can change, when people hear this stuff over and over and over. So this guy, what's his name again? Eddie. This is a new one.
Eddie Moore Jr. It's EddieMooreJr.com, and that's JR for the junior.
Okay.
He's the one.
I would love to go and read about that. I've never heard of him.
He put together what's called the 21-day equity challenge. So he's the one that's pushing this concept of equity as equal outcomes versus equal opportunity, which is the huge, but that's communist. Communism wants people to believe everyone should have the same amount of stuff. But of course, in communism, it's the lowest common denominator. And we see it in Venezuela where there's a bunch of people in the line and there's no bread. And it's capitalism where you have no one in line and lots of bread.
Exactly.
It's a pretty simple equation, but somehow they have been brainwashing our children and so our children are believing these concepts.
Yeah, even with like the whole Bernie Sanders thing, the moment he got a little taste of, being a millionaire and, he stopped his whole, he was all against capitalism. And now he sold a book, and he's reaping the benefits of capitalism. Now he's like, he's not on that train much anymore. It's so funny how they get to use our stuff, capitalism, when it best fits them, but they want to trash it at any other time to get everybody else on board with their socialism so they can remain on top and suppress everybody else on the bottom. It's very sick.
Yes, it is very sick. And you've said that so well. And the other point that you're bringing out there is the fact that in a communist system, there is a, quote, capitalistic oriented elite. But that's the thing. They are the upper echelon. Right. And if you look back at all these regimes, they had that. They had that upper layer of somewhat capitalistic people that were in control then of all of us little people.
Right. Yeah. It's so telling how not good of a job we've done with educating our own society, because we have so much evidence that shows that communism and socialism is awful. Yes. There's so much historical evidence that it's awful, yet we have our own vice president who put out a promotion that equity was good and that this communist socialist idea was good. And you have our society, many people in our society, children included, who are, taking this all in and saying that it's good. My oldest daughter, she was when she was in public school, her history teacher was talking about communism, and one of the kids in the class was like, Mrs. So-and-so, what's communism? And she said, oh, it's just sharing land. And he's like, oh, okay. So my daughter pulls him to the side after class, and she's like, no, don't believe that. Communism is bad. It's way worse than that. But that's what
good for her. I love it. Way to go, Mama.
That's my baby. But the teachers are telling kids, it's just sharing land. No biggie. Like,
I know.
this is indicative of where our like, what our children are
Yes,
getting when we're dropping them off. I call them
yes.
indoctrination camps because they're I don't call them schools anymore because I don't believe that kids are really truly learning, what they need to learn when they're getting dropped off there, so I just call them indoctrination
Absolutely.
camps.
And I agree totally. And what you've also pointed out is the revisionist history that's in our classrooms.
Yeah.
As as per what came out of the teacher's mouth. So exactly. And so they've taken these stories, as you know,
Mm.
they've taken some of these stories out of the history books.
Yeah.
And it's so that they fight against parents who don't want them to be teaching these false theories about race,
Mm.
and trumping up racism, which
Yes.
frankly hardly exists at all in our country. I mean, there will always be racists, and
They'll always be racist.
we will always denounce that.
Right.
But Americans are not racist in this generation. I mean, truly, we have made such great strides. We're the only
Yeah.
country in the world that fought a war to end end slavery.
Yes. That's
Um, you
right.
know, Thomas Sowell, for those who are interested, he just has an incredible history on
Mhm.
race and slavery that is the true history.
Yeah.
And so what our kids are being fed is truly false history.